The basement door shouldn't have been warm to the touch, not in a cottage that had been empty for 3 months, but Iris pressed her palm against the wood anyway, and something on the other side whimpered. She jerked her hand back. The sound came again, softer this time. Almost pitiful. Iris Blackwood had driven 6 hours through winding mountain roads to reach her mother's cottage, expecting nothing but silence and the musty smell of abandonment. Instead, she'd walked into something that felt wrong from the moment she'd turned her key in the lock. Fresh bread sat on the kitchen counter, days old at most. Milk in the fridge that hadn't expired. Firewood stacked neatly by the hearth, still fragrant with pine sap. Her mother had been dead for 3 months, the heart attack sudden, the funeral small. Who had been here? Iris's hands trembled as she gripped the basement doorknob. It was warm. Actually warm, as if something living pressed against the other side, radiating heat through the old wood. Hello? Her voice cracked. Another whimper. Definitely an animal. She twisted the knob and pulled. The stairs descended into darkness, but a shaft of afternoon light from the kitchen window illuminated the first few steps. Iris fumbled along the wall until she found the light switch. When she flipped it, weak yellow light flooded a space she'd rarely entered as a child. Her mother had always kept the basement locked. At the bottom of the stairs, curled in a nest of faded quilts Iris recognized from her childhood bed, was a wolf pup. But not like any wolf pup she'd seen in nature documentaries. This one's fur was pure silver, almost luminescent in the dim light, and its eyes. God, its eyes. They were gold and far too intelligent. They tracked her movement as she descended the stairs, watching with an awareness that made her stomach clench. The pup couldn't have been more than 3 months old, but those eyes belonged to something much older. Easy, Iris whispered, though she didn't know why she bothered. The pup couldn't understand her. Except it cocked its head as if it did. She crouched a few feet away, her knees protesting. The pup didn't growl or bare its teeth. Instead, it whimpered again and shifted in the nest of quilts, revealing a leather collar around its neck. Iris squinted in the poor light and leaned closer. Words had been burned into the leather. Rowan, do not separate. Rowan, she said aloud. The pup's ears perked up. Iris's heart hammered. What the hell, Mom? She looked around the basement properly for the first time. Boxes lined the walls, most covered in dust, but a few looked recently disturbed. Her mother's handwriting labeled them, winter clothes, books, Iris, baby years. Then she saw the scratches. They covered the wooden support beam nearest the stairs, deep gouges that could only have come from claws. But higher up, where no animal could reach, were other marks. Thinner. More deliberate. They looked like words. Iris stood slowly and approached the beam, her skin prickling. She traced one of the marks with her finger. Protect her. Another, lower down, trust the bond. And at eye level, 3 moons left. What is this? Iris breathed. Behind her, Rowan whined. When she turned, the pup had risen to its feet, watching her with those unsettling golden eyes. It took a tentative step forward, then another, until it was close enough to press its nose against her shin. The touch sent a shock through her, not painful, but electric. Alive. Iris knelt again, and this time she reached out to stroke the pup's silver fur. It was impossibly soft. Rowan leaned into her touch, and she felt something inside her chest twist and settle, like a lock clicking into place. Where did you come from? She whispered. Rowan just stared at her with those ancient eyes. Iris spent the next hour searching the cottage. In her mother's bedroom, unchanged since her last visit 2 years ago. She found the journals. They were stacked on the nightstand, the most recent one lying open as if her mother had just been reading it. Iris sat on the edge of the bed and pulled the journal into her lap. Her mother's handwriting, always precise and elegant, filled the pages. She flipped backward, scanning entries. November 14th, he's growing stronger. The transformations are still painful, but he's learning control. Such a brave boy. December 2nd, I worry what will happen when I'm gone. Iris doesn't know. How could she? I kept her from this world to protect her, but now. December 20th, the council sent another letter. They want him handed over, but I won't. He's not a monster. He's just a child. Iris's hands shook as she turned page after page. Her mother wrote about Rowan, about feeds and training, about the change and the blood bond. None of it made sense. Then she reached the final entry. The date stopped her cold, March 17th. The day her mother died. He's almost ready. Iris will understand when she finds him. She has to. It's in her blood too. I only hope I prepared them both enough. The full moon is in 3 days, and this will be his first transformation alone. Forgive me, my darling girl, for the truth you're about to discover. Forgive me for keeping you from your heritage. But most of all, protect him. He's the last of his kind, and they'll come for him. Trust what you feel. Trust the bond. It won't lie. Iris read the entry 3 times before she could breathe properly again. Her heritage? The blood bond? Her mother had been a botanist, for God's sake. Practical. Scientific. This had to be some kind of breakdown. Grief playing tricks. She pulled out her phone to call someone, her aunt, maybe, or even animal control, but the screen wouldn't turn on. She pressed the power button. Nothing. The battery had been at 70% when she arrived. Iris tried the light switch. It worked. She walked to the kitchen and plugged in her phone charger. The outlet was live, she could hear the charger's soft hum, but her phone remained dark. A chill crept down her spine. She tried her laptop. Dead. Her tablet. Dead. Even her car's electronic key fob wouldn't respond. No, she whispered. No, no, no. Behind her, claws clicked on the wooden floor. Rowan had climbed the stairs from the basement. He stood in the doorway, watching her with those impossible eyes. In the fading afternoon light, his silver fur seemed to shimmer, and for just a moment, less than a heartbeat, Iris could have sworn she saw something else. A child's face, superimposed over the wolf's. A boy with dark hair and those same golden eyes, looking at her with desperate hope. Then he was just a pup again, whimpering softly. The sun was setting. Through the window, Iris could see the sky turning deep purple, and rising above the pine trees in the east was the moon. Full. Impossibly bright. She looked at Rowan. He looked back. And somewhere in the forest beyond the cottage, something howled. Wanting to see what would happen next, subscribe to this channel to get to listen to more of our upcoming exciting stories. Click on the subscribe button now. Thank you. Chapter 2. Iris didn't sleep that first night. She couldn't. Not with Rowan curled at the foot of her mother's bed, whimpering through dreams that made his legs twitch and his fur ripple like water. Not with that howl still echoing in her memory, somewhere out there in the dark forest. Not with her mother's final words burning through her mind, it's in her blood too. When dawn finally broke through the curtains, Iris dragged herself to the kitchen and started coffee by muscle memory alone. Her hands shook as she measured grounds. Everything felt surreal, like she'd stepped through a door into someone else's life. The click of claws on hardwood made her turn. Rowan stood in the doorway, but he was different. Bigger. His shoulders were broader, his legs longer. In one night, he'd grown at least 2 weeks' worth. Maybe more. That's impossible, Iris whispered. The pup, not quite a pup anymore, padded toward her. When he sat, his head came up to her hip. Those golden eyes never left her face, searching for something she didn't know how to give. She poured kibble into a bowl she'd found under the sink, her mind refusing to process what she was seeing. Rowan sniffed it, then looked up at her with something that could only be described as reproach. Right, Iris said, her voice hollow. Not actually a dog. She scrambled eggs instead, adding cheese because that's what she would have wanted. Rowan ate delicately, almost carefully, and when he was finished he pressed his head against her leg in what felt absurdly like gratitude. The contact sent that same electric shock through her. Stronger this time. It spread from the point of contact up through her chest, settling somewhere behind her ribs like a second heartbeat. "What's happening to me?" she asked the empty kitchen. Rowan just looked at her with those two knowing eyes. By noon, he was the size of a full-grown wolf. By sunset, something else began. Iris was reading her mother's journals. She'd found 17 of them total, dating back years, when Rowan started whining. Not the soft sounds from before. These were sharp, distressed. When she looked up, he was pacing the living room, agitated, his body seeming to shimmer at the edges. "Rowan? What's wrong?" He turned to her, and his face began to change. Iris dropped the journal. The transformation was nothing like the movies. It wasn't dramatic or quick. It was horrible. Rowan's body convulsed, bones cracking and reshaping with sounds that made her stomach heave. His fur receded in patches, revealing pale skin beneath. His muzzle shortened, reformed. He made sounds, God, the sounds he made, that were neither animal nor human but something caught agonizingly between. "Stop," Iris breathed, frozen. "Please, stop." But it didn't stop. For 5 eternal minutes, she watched a wolf become a boy. When it was over, a child lay curled on her mother's rug, naked and shaking. He looked about 7 years old, with dark hair plastered to his forehead with sweat and those same golden eyes now set in a human face. His skin was covered in goosebumps, his breathing rapid and shallow. Iris grabbed the throw blanket from the couch and approached slowly, the way she might approach a wounded animal. "Rowan?" The boy flinched but didn't run. She draped the blanket over his shoulders, and he grabbed it with small, trembling hands, pulling it tight around himself. "Can you talk?" she asked gently. "Do you understand me?" He looked up at her, and she saw terror in those eyes. Pure, primal terror. His mouth opened, but the only sound that came out was a whimper. "Wolf, not human." "Okay," Iris said, keeping her voice calm even though her heart was hammering. "It's okay. You're safe here." The boy, Rowan, curled tighter into himself, and Iris realized with a sick feeling that he didn't know how to be human. Or he'd forgotten. Or maybe he'd never really learned. Over the next 2 days, Iris lived in a nightmare that somehow became routine. Rowan shifted 4 more times, boy to wolf, wolf to boy, the transformations coming without warning and always excruciating to watch. Each time he emerged a little different. The boy got slightly older, maybe 8 now, his features sharpening. The wolf grew larger, more powerful, its silver fur almost glowing in certain light. But he never spoke. The boy would watch her with desperate, hungry eyes, would reach for her sometimes with those small hands, but words seemed beyond him. He was feral in the truest sense, operating on instinct and need, bonding to her with an intensity that was both touching and terrifying. Because that's what was happening. She could feel it. Every time she fed him, clothed him after a transformation, sat with him while he shook through the pain, she felt that connection strengthen. That second heartbeat behind her ribs grew louder, steadier, until she could swear she felt his emotions as clearly as her own. Fear. Confusion. And underneath it all, a desperate, clinging hope. He was making her his pack. And God help her, she was letting him. On the 3rd morning, while Rowan slept in wolf form on the couch, Iris found the journal entry that changed everything. June 3, 1987, I told James the first was pregnant today. I thought he would be happy. Instead, I watched terror cross his face, real, bone-deep terror. He made me promise something I still don't fully understand. He said our child must never know what he is. What we are. He said the world is too dangerous, the hunters too persistent. He said he would leave, make it look like abandonment, anything to keep our baby safe from his world. I said yes. God forgive me, I said yes. Iris's hands shook so badly she nearly dropped the journal. July 15, 1987, Iris was born today. 7 pounds, 6 ounces. Perfect. James came to the hospital window, but he didn't come inside. I saw him standing in the parking lot, staring up at the nursery, and then he was gone. I haven't seen him since. But I understand now. She has his eyes, not the color, but the way they catch the light. She has his blood. The wolf is in her, dormant but there. The network has given me the suppressants. Wolfsbane tea, sage charms, silver powder mixed into her food. It will keep her human. It has to. She'll never know what she could have been, but she'll be safe. That's all that matters. The journal slipped from Iris's fingers. Wolfsbane. Her mother had been poisoning her, no, not poisoning, suppressing, giving her wolfsbane her entire life. Those herbal teas her mother insisted she drink every morning. The special vitamins. The silver bracelet she'd worn until she was 18, the one that had left that faint scar on her wrist. All of it had been to keep the wolf buried. Iris looked down at her hands. They were steady now. Too steady. She could feel something moving under her skin, something she'd never noticed before because it had always been there, drugged into submission. "Oh my God," she whispered. Behind her, Rowan whined in his sleep. She turned and found him watching her, because of course he was awake, he was always watching her, and in his eyes she saw recognition. He knew. Somehow, he knew what she'd just discovered. "Is that why you chose me?" she asked him. "Why you bonded so fast? Because you can sense it? The wolf?" Rowan transformed right there on the couch. It was faster this time, less agonizing, and when the boy emerged from beneath silver fur, he was clutching the blanket she'd left nearby. He stared at her with those golden eyes, and for the first time, his mouth moved like he was trying to form words. Nothing came out, but Iris understood anyway. Yes. The knock on the door came an hour later. Iris had just finished reading another journal entry, this one about the network, a secret organization of humans and sympathetic werewolves who protected children like Rowan from something called the culling, when 3 sharp raps echoed through the cottage. She froze. Rowan, back in wolf form, was on his feet instantly, a low growl building in his chest. "It's okay," Iris said, though she had no idea if it was. "Stay here." She approached the door carefully, wishing she had a weapon, wishing her phone worked, wishing she understood anything about what was happening. Through the window, she could see a man standing on her porch. He was tall, broad-shouldered, with dark hair and a face that would have been handsome if it wasn't so hard with tension. He wore jeans and a worn leather jacket, and he was staring at the door like he could see through it. "Iris Blackwood," he called. His voice was deep, rough. "I know you're in there. I know you have Rowan. I'm here to help." "Go away," she called back. "I can't do that. My name is Marcus Thorne. Your mother knew me. She was part of our network, and she left Rowan in her care because she knew I'd come for him. Please. Let me in." Iris's heart pounded. She looked back at Rowan, who had moved closer, his hackles raised. "Do you know him?" The wolf's growl deepened. "That's not a yes," Iris muttered. "Iris." Marcus's voice carried a note of desperation. "The full moon is in 4 days. Rowan's transformations will stabilize or they'll kill him. I can help, but I need to get inside. Your mother's wards, they're strong, but they won't hold if you try to leave with him. You're trapped in there until we figure this out together." "How do I know you're telling the truth?" "Because if I wanted to hurt you, I'd have broken down this door already. Because I'm Rowan's brother, and he needs me. And because you're starting to feel it, aren't you? The wolf. Your mother suppressed it, but it's waking up, and you have no idea how to control it." Iris's hand went to her throat. He was right. She could feel it, that thing inside her, stirring, stretching after years of forced sleep. It frightened her. But it also felt right? Like finding a part of herself she'd always known was missing. "I'm going to open the door," she said. "But if you try anything, I won't." She unlocked the door and pulled it open. Marcus Thorne was even more imposing up close. He had to be 6'3", built like someone who worked with his hands, and his eyes, deep brown, almost black, locked onto hers with an intensity that made her breath catch. There was something wild in those eyes, something barely contained. Then his gaze shifted past her to Rowan, and his entire expression softened. "Hey, pup," he said quietly. "I told you I'd find you." Rowan's growl cut off abruptly. For a long moment, boy and wolf stared at each other, and Iris felt something pass between them, recognition, maybe, or memory. Then Rowan padded forward slowly and pressed his nose against Marcus's outstretched hand. The gesture was clear, "Pack." "You really are his brother," Iris breathed. "Half-brother," Marcus corrected, stepping inside. "Same father, different mothers. Our dad was complicated. Had packs in 3 different territories before the culling found him." His jaw tightened. "Rowan's the only one left. The only heir to the Thornwood bloodline." "The what?" Marcus closed the door behind him and turned to face her fully. "Your mother didn't tell you any of this, did she? About the old families, the bloodlines that go back centuries?" "My mother told me nothing," Iris said, anger creeping into her voice. "I didn't even know werewolves were real until 3 days ago." Something like sympathy crossed Marcus's face. "Eleanor was protecting you. She knew what happens to wolves who can't control their transformations, who don't have pack. She kept you human because she loved you. She lied to me. She saved you." Marcus moved further into the cottage, his gaze sweeping the space. "The wards are still strong. Your mother knew what she was doing. This place is a sanctuary, silver buried in the foundation, wolfsbane in the walls, protection sigils carved into every doorframe. Nothing can get in without your permission." "Then why can't I leave?" Iris demanded. "When I tried to drive into town yesterday, my car died at the property line. Every electronic device I have is fried. What kind of sanctuary is this?" Marcus's expression turned grim. "The kind that keeps a bonding wolf alive. Rowan chose you as his pack, Iris. Your mother's wards recognized that. They won't let you separate until the bond is complete, or until he's stable enough to survive without you. If you'd managed to leave, he would have died." The words hit her like a punch. "What? Wolf pups bond to survive. It's instinct, especially for ones as traumatized as Rowan. He was alone when your mother died, terrified, barely holding his transformations together. When you found him, he latched onto you. The bond is half-formed, which means if you leave now, if you break it before it's complete, it'll kill him. Maybe you too." Iris looked at Rowan, who had settled at her feet, his golden eyes watching her steadily. "You're saying I'm stuck here?" "I'm saying you're keeping him alive," Marcus corrected. "And in 4 days, at the next full moon, we can complete the ritual that will stabilize his transformations. After that, the bond will be strong enough that you can leave the property. But until then, yes. You're stuck. This is insane. This is reality." Marcus ran a hand through his hair, and for the first time, Iris saw how tired he looked. How worried. "Look, I know this is overwhelming. I know you didn't ask for any of this. But Rowan needs you. The Thornwood bloodline needs you. If word gets out that he's alive, that he's the heir, people will come. Bad people. Hunters who think werewolves are monsters. Rival packs who want the bloodline erased. We have 4 days to keep him hidden and get him stable. And then what? Then we figure out what comes next." Marcus met her eyes, and something in his gaze made her pulse quicken. "Together." That's when Iris caught it, a faint scent, sharp and wrong, underneath his cologne. Her newly awakening senses picked it up instantly, and every instinct she had suddenly screamed at her. He was lying. Not about everything, maybe. But about something. Something important. Marcus saw the change in her expression. What? I don't know, Iris said slowly, her hand dropping to rest on Rowan's head. The wolf pressed closer to her leg. But you're not telling me everything. I can feel it. For just a second, something dark flickered across Marcus's face. Then it was gone, replaced by that same desperate sincerity. Iris. Get out. You don't understand. Get out. Her voice came out harder than she intended, almost a growl, and the sound shocked them both. Marcus stared at her, and she saw something like recognition in his eyes. Then respect. He raised his hands slowly. Okay. I'll go. But I'll be close. When you're ready to hear the whole truth, and you will be, because you'll need answers, I'll be at the old ranger station 2 miles north. Come find me. He moved toward the door, and Rowan's growl started up again. Marcus paused with his hand on the knob. For what it's worth, he said without turning around, your mother was one of the bravest people I knew. Everything she did for you. Don't hate her for that. Then he was gone. Iris stood frozen in the center of the cottage, her hands still resting on Rowan's head, her heart racing. The wolf looked up at her, and slowly, painfully, he began to transform again. This time when the boy emerged, he reached for her immediately, his small arms wrapping around her waist, his face pressing against her stomach. She could feel him trembling. I know, she whispered, stroking his hair. I'm scared too. But even as she said it, she felt that second heartbeat behind her ribs grow stronger. Felt the bond between them settle deeper, more solid. Felt the wolf inside her, her father's legacy, her mother's secret. Wake up just a little bit more. For days until the full moon. For days to figure out what Marcus was hiding. For days to decide what kind of person she was going to become. Iris looked down at Rowan's upturned face, at those golden eyes that trusted her completely, and made her choice. Okay, she said quietly. Okay. We'll figure this out. Together. Outside, in the darkening forest, something howled in answer. And this time, something inside Iris howled back. Wanting to see what would happen next, subscribe to this channel to get to listen to more of our upcoming exciting stories. Click on the subscribe button now. Thank you. Chapter 3. Marcus returned the next morning with 2 duffel bags and a grim expression. I'm staying, he said before Iris could speak. You can't do this alone, and Rowan needs someone who knows what they're doing. Iris wanted to argue. Every instinct told her not to trust him, that he was hiding something crucial. But Rowan, currently in boy form, wrapped in one of her old sweaters that hung to his knees, peered around her leg and made a soft sound that wasn't quite human, wasn't quite wolf. He wanted Marcus to stay. Fine, Iris said. But you sleep on the couch, and if I catch you in another lie, you're gone. Something flickered in Marcus's dark eyes. Fair enough. Over the next 2 days, Marcus transformed the cottage into something that felt almost like a home. He cooked real food, not the scrambled eggs and toast Iris had been subsisting on. He reinforced the wards, showing Iris how her mother had woven protection spells into the very bones of the house. He worked with Rowan during his transformations, talking him through the pain in a low, steady voice that seemed to help. And he taught Iris about the world her mother had hidden from her. Pack structure is everything, Marcus explained on the second evening, while Rowan dozed in wolf form by the fire. They sat at the kitchen table, journals and old photographs spread between them. It's not just social, it's magical. Wolves bond to each other, create networks of power that protect and strengthen the pack. An alpha leads, betas support, omegas balance. Everyone has a role. What was my father? Iris asked, studying a photograph Marcus had brought, a tall man with dark hair and golden eyes that looked hauntingly familiar. James Thornwood was an alpha. One of the strongest in 3 generations. Marcus's voice carried respect and something else. Grief, maybe. The Thornwood Pack controlled territory from here to the Canadian border. They were old blood, traditional but fair. Your father was supposed to unite the regional packs, bring peace after decades of territorial fighting. What happened? Marcus's jaw tightened. The culling happened. A group of hunters, the Silver Chain, decided that werewolves were too dangerous to exist. They spent years infiltrating packs, learning our weaknesses, our bloodlines. Then they struck. Systematically. Brutally. The Thornwood Pack was one of the first they hit. Iris felt something cold settle in her stomach. My father was murdered 12 years ago. Along with most of his pack. Marcus met her eyes. Your mother got out because she wasn't pack. She was human, living separate, protecting you. The Silver Chain never knew about you. Eleanor made sure of it. But they knew about Rowan. Rowan was born after the culling, to a woman in one of the surviving fragments of the pack. She died in childbirth. Your father asked your mother to take him, to hide him the same way she'd hidden you. She said yes. Marcus glanced at the sleeping wolf. She's been protecting him for 7 years. Moving him, keeping him suppressed just like you, teaching him to hide. But 3 months ago, something happened. The hunters found the trail. And my mother had a heart attack. Your mother, Marcus said carefully, used the last of her strength to get Rowan here. To you. She knew she was dying, Iris. She chose to spend her final hours making sure he'd be safe. The words hit like a physical blow. Iris pressed her palms against the table, trying to steady herself. Why me? Why not you, if you're his brother? Why not someone who actually knows this world? Marcus was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice was softer than she'd heard it. Because you're stronger than you know. Because the bond between you is real, I can see it, feel it. You're good for him. You're exactly what he needs. The way he said it made heat rise in her cheeks. She looked away, focusing on the photographs. Tell me about the Silver Chain. Fanatics, Marcus said, his voice hardening again. They believe werewolves are demonic, that we're a corruption that needs to be purged. Their leader is a woman named Victoria Crane. She's brilliant, ruthless, and she has a personal vendetta against the Thornwood bloodline. Her father was killed by a rogue wolf 20 years ago, and she's spent her entire adult life hunting us down. How close are they? Close enough that you need to be ready. Marcus reached across the table, his hand hovering near hers. Which means we need to talk about what's happening to you. Iris pulled her hand back. I don't know what you mean. Yes, you do. His eyes searched her face. You're feeling it, aren't you? The changes. Your senses getting sharper. Emotions harder to control. Hunger that regular food doesn't quite satisfy. She wanted to deny it. But he was right. It had started the morning after he'd arrived. She'd woken to the smell of coffee so strong it was almost painful, had been able to hear Marcus breathing in the living room 3 walls away. When Rowan had knocked over a glass, she'd moved to catch it before it hit the floor, moved faster than should have been possible, her reflexes almost supernatural. And the anger. God, the anger that came out of nowhere, burning hot and fierce over the smallest things. She'd nearly screamed at Marcus for reorganizing the pantry, had felt something wild and vicious rise up in her throat before she'd forced it back down. The suppression charms are breaking down, Marcus said. Your mother kept them active with constant maintenance, spells, teas, charms. Without her here to reinforce them, your true nature is surfacing. You're going to transform, Iris. Probably at the next full moon. 3 days, she whispered. 3 days, he confirmed. And I'll be honest with you, your first transformation is going to be hell. It's always worst for wolves who were suppressed. Your body doesn't know what it's doing, your wolf doesn't know how to take form properly. People have died from their first shift. Fear spiked through her, sharp and cold. What do I do? You trust me. Let me guide you through it. And you complete the bond with Rowan, that'll give you an anchor, something to hold on to when the pain gets bad. Marcus leaned forward. I know you're scared. I know this isn't the life you wanted. But you're not alone in this. I promise. The sincerity in his voice made her want to believe him. Made her want to lean into his strength, let him carry some of this impossible weight. But she couldn't forget that scent she'd caught, that instinct that screamed he was hiding something. That night, Iris woke to voices. Marcus was on the porch, his phone pressed to his ear, speaking in low, urgent tones. She crept to the window, her newly sharp hearing picking up every word. No, I haven't told her yet, Marcus said. It's too risky. If she knows the full truth before she transforms, she might reject it. Might fight it. Silence while the person on the other end spoke. I understand the timeline. I know what's at stake. Marcus's voice dropped even lower. Once she transforms, the bond will complete itself. Her alpha nature will recognize Rowan as Pack, and the protection will be absolute. Then he'll be truly protected. Hidden from any supernatural tracking. Iris's blood went cold. She's starting to suspect, Marcus continued. She's smart, and her instincts are getting stronger. But I can hold it together for 3 more days. After that, it won't matter. She'll be Pack, and she'll understand why this was necessary. The person on the other end said something that made Marcus laugh, a bitter, tired sound. Trust me. I'm doing this for the kid. I'm doing this because it's the right thing, even if she hates me for it later. Rowan deserves to live. And if manipulating one woman into becoming what she was always meant to be is what it takes, then that's what I'll do. Iris backed away from the window, her heart hammering. He'd been using her. This entire time, all the help and teaching and those moments where she'd almost believed he cared, it had all been manipulation. He needed her to transform not for her own good, but to use her as some kind of magical shield for Rowan. She looked at the boy sleeping on the couch, curled into a tight ball. Even in sleep, his small hand was stretched toward where she'd been lying, seeking her presence. The bond was real. She felt it every moment, that second heartbeat that was his and hers together. But Marcus was using it. Using both of them. Rage bubbled up in her throat, that new, wild anger she couldn't control. Her hands shook with it. Her vision swam. Outside, Marcus ended his call and started back toward the cottage. Iris forced herself to breathe, forced the anger down. She needed to think clearly. She needed to figure out what to do. But even as she climbed back into bed, she knew one thing for certain: she couldn't trust Marcus Thorne. The symbols appeared the next morning. Iris found them when she went to get firewood. Burned into the bark of the pine trees that ringed the property. Crude but deliberate marks that made her skin crawl. Circles with crosses through them. Letters in an alphabet she didn't recognize. And in the center of each symbol, a silver chain. Marcus. Her voice came out sharp with fear. He was beside her in seconds, Rowan at his heels in wolf form. Marcus went pale when he saw the marks. How long? Iris demanded. They must have come during the night. While we were, he cut himself off, jaw clenching. They're closing in. The wards will hold them out, but they know you're here now. They know Rowan is here. How many? Hard to say. Victoria never travels with fewer than 6 hunters, and she's probably called in reinforcements for this. Marcus was already moving, pulling out his phone. I need to make some calls. Get people here who can help. Like who? Other members of the network. Wolves who owe your mother debts. Anyone who can stand between Rowan and the silver chain. Iris looked at the symbols, fighting down panic. How much time do we have? Not enough, Marcus said grimly. Over the next day, the signs of the hunter's presence multiplied. More symbols burned into trees, drawing closer to the cottage. Fresh boot prints in the mud near the property line. The distant sound of vehicles, coming and going. They were setting up a perimeter, preparing for something. And through it all, Iris felt her body changing. Her senses sharpened until she could hear heartbeats, smell emotions, taste the fear in the air. Her muscles ached like she'd run a marathon. Her teeth hurt. Her fingernails grew faster than normal, harder, almost claw-like before she filed them down with shaking hands. The hunger got worse. She ate constantly but nothing satisfied it. The smell of meat, raw meat, made her mouth water in a way that should have disgusted her but instead felt perfectly natural. And the rage. God, the rage that lived just under her skin, waiting for an excuse to break free. Marcus watched her with growing concern, but he kept his distance now. She'd been cold to him since overhearing his phone call, and he seemed to sense that something had shifted between them. Good. Let him worry. Rowan, meanwhile, grew more stable. His transformations came less frequently, lasted longer. He was learning to control the shift, Marcus said. Learning to choose when to be boy and when to be wolf. The boy still didn't speak, but he communicated in other ways. Touches. Looks. Small sounds that Iris was learning to interpret. He stayed close to her constantly, his small hand finding hers whenever he was human, his body pressed against her legs when he was wolf. The bond between them felt almost solid now, like a rope connecting their hearts. On the third morning, the day of the full moon, Iris woke to silence. Wrong silence. No birds. No wind. Nothing. She rolled out of bed, her body moving with that new, predatory grace, and found Marcus already in the living room. He was armed, a silver knife on his belt, something that looked like a modified crossbow in his hands. "They're here," he said quietly. "How many?" "At least a dozen. Surrounding the property. They're waiting for nightfall." Marcus met her eyes. "When the moon rises and you transform, the wards will fluctuate. They'll try to breach then." "Can they?" "If they're strong enough. If they're determined enough." He hefted the crossbow. "We need to be ready." Iris looked at Rowan, who had woken and was watching them with those two knowing eyes. Currently in boy form, he looked terrified but trying to be brave. "Go get dressed," Marcus told her. "Warm clothes, layers." "And Iris?" He waited until she looked at him. "Whatever happens tonight, whatever you see or feel during your transformation, hold on to Rowan. Hold on to that bond. It's the only thing that'll keep you sane." She wanted to throw his manipulation back in his face. Wanted to tell him she knew about his phone call, his plans, his lies. But Rowan was looking at her with such trust, such desperate hope, that she just nodded. The day crawled by with agonizing slowness. Marcus reinforced the wards, muttering words in a language Iris didn't recognize. He made her eat protein, iron-rich foods, and showed her basic fighting stances that her body somehow already knew. "Muscle memory from your father's bloodline," he explained. "Alphas are born warriors." "I'm not an alpha," Iris said. Marcus gave her a strange look but didn't argue. As the sun began to set, painting the sky in shades of orange and red, Iris felt something shift inside her. A pulling sensation, like invisible hooks in her bones. The moon was rising. She couldn't see it yet, but she felt it. Oh God, she felt it. "Marcus." "I know. Come on." He guided her outside, Rowan trailing close behind. "You need space. If you transform inside, you could hurt yourself. Or hurt Rowan." They made it to the clearing behind the cottage just as the full moon crested the trees. The pain hit like lightning. Iris screamed. She couldn't help it. Every bone in her body was breaking, reshaping, breaking again. Her skin burned. Her muscles tore. She fell to her knees, then to her hands, feeling them twist into something else. Something animal. "Hold on," Marcus was saying, his voice seeming to come from very far away. "Hold on, Iris. You're okay. Let it happen. Don't fight it." But it hurt. God, it hurt so much. Rowan whimpered. She heard it through the pain, a small, frightened sound. Rowan. She focused on that sound. On the bond between them. On that second heartbeat that matched hers. The transformation accelerated. Fur, white as snow, she could see it spreading across her arms, erupted from her skin. Her face elongated into a muzzle. Her spine curved, restructured. Her clothes tore away, irrelevant. For 90 seconds that felt like hours, Iris Blackwood died and something else was born. When it was over, she stood on 4 legs, her breath coming in great gasps. And the world was different. Colors were muted but scents were overwhelming. She could smell everything. The pine trees, the earth, Marcus's fear and awe, Rowan's relief. She could hear heartbeats for miles. Feel the vibrations of footsteps through the ground. Power coursed through her, wild and fierce and ancient. She looked down at herself and saw white fur with black markings along her legs and back. She was huge, larger than Rowan's wolf form, nearly Marcus's height at the shoulder. Jesus, Marcus breathed. Iris, you're an Aldermore. She didn't know what that meant. She tried to ask, but the sound that came out was a wolf's questioning growl. The Aldermore bloodline, Marcus said, staring at her like he was seeing a ghost. They were extinct. We thought they were all gone. Your father must have, he cut himself off, shaking his head in disbelief. No wonder Eleanor hid you so carefully. If anyone knew what you were. A gunshot cracked through the air. Marcus spun, crossbow raised. They're coming. Figures emerged from the trees, men and women dressed in tactical gear, carrying weapons that gleamed silver in the moonlight. At least 15 of them, forming a circle around the clearing. And at the front, a woman with short blonde hair and cold blue eyes. Victoria Crane. Stand down, Marcus Thorne, she called. Her voice was crisp, British accented. You're harboring a dangerous animal. Hand over the Thornwood boy, and we'll let you walk away. Over my dead body, Marcus snarled. That can be arranged. Victoria's gaze swept the clearing and landed on Iris. Her eyes widened fractionally. My God. A white wolf. I haven't seen one since. She stepped closer, studying Iris with the intensity of a scientist examining a rare specimen. You're not just any white wolf, are you? Those markings. That size. You're Aldermore stock. Iris growled, low and threatening. Victoria smiled, a cold, sharp expression. Does she know, Marcus? Does she know what she's protecting? Don't, Marcus warned. The boy isn't your brother at all, is he? Victoria's smile widened. He's hers. Same father, different mothers. James Thornwood got around, didn't he? One child with a human woman he thought he loved. Another with a pack female when duty called. Both children hidden away, suppressed, kept safe from the wars he started. The words penetrated the wolf's mind slowly, but when they did, everything stopped. Iris turned to look at Rowan, really look at him. At the golden eyes that matched hers. At the shape of his face that was so familiar because she saw it every time she looked in a mirror. At the bond between them that had felt so immediate, so right, because it wasn't just pack. It was blood. Brother. Eleanor Blackwood died protecting him, Victoria continued, circling slowly. She got him out when my people found his mother's den. Used the last of her magic to shield him, then led my hunters on a chase that ended with her heart giving out. Very heroic. Very stupid. Because all she did was delay the inevitable. Victoria raised her hand, and the circle of hunters raised their weapons. James Thornwood nearly destroyed the natural order. He thought he could unite the packs, create some kind of werewolf utopia. Instead, he started a war that got hundreds killed. His bloodline is poison. And that boy, that heir, represents everything we've been fighting to prevent. He dies tonight. If you want to die protecting him, that's your choice. But the Thornwood line ends here. Rage exploded through Iris, not the uncontrolled anger from before, but something pure and focused. This woman had killed her father. Had hounded her mother to death. Was threatening her brother. Her pack. The wolf's lips pulled back from massive teeth, and the growl that erupted from her throat made two of the hunters step back. An alpha's challenge, Victoria said, sounding almost pleased. How traditional. All right then, White Wolf. Let's see what the Aldermore bloodline is really made of. She pulled a silver blade from her belt. Marcus moved to intercept, but 3 hunters grabbed him, silver chains wrapping around his arms. He fought, but they were trained and prepared. Rowan transformed, boy to wolf in seconds. And tried to attack, but Iris blocked him with her body. She felt his confusion, his fear, his desperate need to help. She sent back one clear feeling through their bond: stay back. I'll protect you. Then she launched herself at Victoria Crane. The fight was brutal and fast. Victoria was good, better than good. She moved like someone who'd spent her entire life hunting predators, anticipating every strike, every feint. Her silver blade found fur twice, burning lines of agony across Iris's shoulder and flank. But Iris was an alpha. Born to lead, born to protect, born to fight. And she was fighting for her brother's life. She was relentless. When Victoria stumbled, when her guard dropped for just a second, Iris was there. Massive jaws closed around the woman's wrist, not breaking, not killing, but holding with inexorable strength. The silver blade clattered to the ground. Call them off, Iris tried to say, but it came out as a growl. Victoria stared up at her, and for the first time, there was fear in those cold blue eyes. Kill me. My people will never stop. You can't protect him forever. Iris increased the pressure on her wrist, feeling bones grind together. Victoria gasped in pain. She said, call them off, Marcus snarled. The hunters holding him had loosened their grip, distracted by the fight. Your hunters signed up to kill monsters. Make them see what they're really doing, threatening a child. Murdering families. Tell them the truth about what the silver chain really is, or I swear to God I'll let her tear your throat out. Victoria's face twisted with hate and pain. But she must have seen something in Iris's eyes, some promise of violence if her brother remained threatened, because she finally nodded. Stand down, she called hoarsely. Everyone stand down. The hunters lowered their weapons slowly, uncertainly. Iris released Victoria's wrist and stepped back, positioning herself between the woman and Rowan. Her brother pressed against her leg, his small wolf form trembling but alive. Safe. This isn't over, Victoria said, cradling her wrist. The Thornwood line is still marked for death. Other hunters will come. You can't run forever. Then I won't run, Iris heard herself think, felt the thought translate into a low, commanding growl. Victoria actually laughed, a bitter sound. An alpha's pride. It got your father killed. It'll get you killed too. Maybe, Marcus said, finally free of the hunters. He retrieved his crossbow and aimed it at Victoria's head. But not tonight. Get your people out of here. If I see any of you on this property again, the White Wolf won't be so merciful. Victoria stood slowly, gathering her dignity around her like armor. She looked at Iris one last time, and something like respect flickered in her expression. For what it's worth, she said quietly, your father would be proud. You have his strength. His honor. I hope it serves you better than it served him. Then she turned and walked into the forest, her hunters following. The silence they left behind was deafening. Marcus approached slowly, his crossbow lowered. Iris? Can you understand me? She nodded her massive wolf head. Okay. Okay, good. Listen, the transformation back is going to hurt just as much as the one coming in. But I need you to try. We need to talk, and we need to do it now, before. But Iris was already changing. She focused on Rowan, on the bond, on the image of herself as human. The wolf resisted at first. It liked this form, this power, but she pushed harder. Her bones began to crack and reshape. 3 agonizing minutes later, she was human again, naked and shaking in the moonlight. Marcus threw his jacket over her shoulders without meeting her eyes. Professional. Careful. You heard, he said quietly. What Victoria said. About Rowan. He's my brother. Iris's voice was raw. And my mother died getting him to me. Not to you. To me. Because I'm alpha, and you knew that. You knew all of it. Marcus flinched. Iris. Don't. She clutched his jacket tighter, looking down at Rowan. The wolf, her brother, was watching her with those familiar golden eyes. How long have you known? Since the beginning. Your mother told me what you were when she asked me to watch over him. She knew you'd inherit your father's alpha nature, that Rowan would need that strength. Marcus ran a hand through his hair. I wasn't lying when I said you were strong enough for this. I wasn't lying about any of that. Just about everything else. I did what I had to do to keep him alive, Marcus said. And I'd do it again. Iris looked at him, really looked at him, and saw the truth in his eyes. He wasn't sorry for lying. He was sorry she'd found out. Get out, she said quietly. Iris, be reasonable. I said get out. Her voice dropped to something that wasn't quite human. This is my territory now. My pack. And I don't want you in it. Marcus stared at her for a long moment. Then he picked up his crossbow and walked away, disappearing into the same forest that had swallowed Victoria Crane. Iris stood alone in the clearing with her wolf brother, the full moon burning overhead, and felt the weight of her new reality settle onto her shoulders. She was an alpha. The last of the Aldermore bloodline. And she had a brother to protect, a legacy to understand, and enemies closing in from all sides. But as Rowan transformed back into a boy and wrapped his small arms around her waist, as she held him close and felt the bond between them pulse with life and love and unbreakable strength, Iris Blackwood knew one thing for certain. She was done running from what she was. The hunt had found her. Now she'd teach them what it meant to hunt an alpha. If you're still listening to this story up to this point, why don't you subscribe to this channel to continue getting impactful daily stories like this? We would be most grateful if you can do that to help boost this video to reach everyone. Thank you. Chapter 4. Marcus returned 3 days later. Iris heard him coming long before he reached the cottage, her alpha senses tracking his heartbeat, his scent, the careful way he moved through the forest like a man approaching a wild animal. She was on the porch with Rowan, teaching him to identify plants the way her mother had once taught her, when Marcus emerged from the tree line. He looked like hell. Unshaven, exhausted, his clothes torn and dirty. There was a fresh cut above his left eye and bruises darkening his jaw. You look like you fought a bear, Iris said flatly. 3 bears. Marcus stopped at the property line, just outside the wards. Actually, 3 werewolves. My old pack isn't happy I walked away from the job. The job. Iris stood, positioning herself between Marcus and Rowan. You mean killing my brother? Can I come in? Please. I have information you need to hear. Iris studied him through narrowed eyes. Every instinct told her to send him away, to protect her pack from his lies. But there was something in his face, genuine fear, genuine urgency, that made her hesitate. Rowan, she said quietly. What do you think? Her brother, God, it still felt strange to think of him that way, looked up from the flowers he'd been examining. He was in human form today, finally stable enough to hold it for hours at a time. He studied Marcus with those 2 old eyes, then nodded slowly. Okay, Iris said. But if you lie to me again. I won't. Marcus stepped across the threshold, and Iris felt the wards recognize him, accept him reluctantly. I'm done lying. It's time you knew everything. They sat at the kitchen table, the same place where he'd taught her about pack dynamics and bloodlines. But everything was different now. Iris sat with the confidence of an alpha, her posture relaxed but ready. Rowan stayed close to her side, his small hand resting on her leg. And Marcus? Marcus looked like a man preparing for confession. My name is Marcus Thorne, he began. That part was true. But I'm not James Thornwood's son. I'm not related to your father at all. Ice flooded Iris's veins. Then who? I'm from the Greymore pack. The one that betrayed your father. Marcus's voice was steady, but shame colored every word. 12 years ago, James Thornwood proposed a treaty that would have changed everything. He wanted to unite the regional packs, create a council that could speak with one voice, protect our kind from hunters like the Silver Chain. Most packs were willing. Mine wasn't. Why? Because unity meant giving up power. My alpha, Nathaniel Greymore, had controlled the Northern Territories for 30 years. He wasn't about to bow to some idealist with dreams of peace. Marcus's hands curled into fists on the table. So he made a deal with the Silver Chain. He'd help them eliminate James Thornwood and the most progressive alpha families in exchange for being left alone. For being allowed to rule his territory without interference. Iris felt sick. Your pack helped murder my father. Yes. Marcus met her eyes, unflinching. I was 15. I didn't understand what was happening until it was over. By then, the Thornwood pack was scattered or dead, and Nathaniel had consolidated power. He told us we were survivors, that we'd done what was necessary. Most of the pack believed him. But not you. Not after I met your mother. Marcus's expression softened with memory. 5 years ago, Eleanor came to Nathaniel. She told him about Rowan, about how she'd been protecting him. She thought, she actually thought, that Nathaniel would help her. That he'd honor the old ways and protect a child. He didn't. He wanted to kill Rowan immediately. Proof that the Thornwood bloodline was extinct, that there was no one left to challenge his rule. But Eleanor made a deal. She had information about other hidden wolves, refugees from the culling. She'd trade that information, lead Nathaniel's hunters to them, if he gave her time to find someone strong enough to protect Rowan properly. Horror washed over Iris. She sacrificed other wolves to save Rowan? She sacrificed already dead wolves, Marcus corrected. The information she gave Nathaniel was about packs that the Silver Chain had already found. She sent him chasing ghosts while she searched for you. For 3 years, she bought time. And I helped her. Why? Marcus was quiet for a long moment. Because I saw what my alpha had become. What our pack had become. Nathaniel rules through fear and violence. He's twisted the old ways into something dark. Pack members who question him disappear. Wolves who show weakness are executed. It's not a pack anymore, it's a prison. He looked at Rowan. When Eleanor told me about the boy, about what he represented, a chance for something different, something better, I wanted to help. So I became her spy. Fed her information, helped her move Rowan when Nathaniel got too close. And when she died? Nathaniel ordered me to retrieve Rowan and bring him back for execution. A public display to prove the Thornwood line was finished. Marcus's jaw tightened. I came here planning to do exactly that. To take the boy, complete my mission, earn back my alpha's trust. What changed? You. Marcus said it simply, without flourish. I walked into this cottage expecting to find some human woman playing at Wolf Keeper, someone I could manipulate and discard. Instead I found an alpha. A real one, natural born, with more integrity in her little finger than Nathaniel has in his entire corrupted soul. You changed everything, Iris. You made me remember what pack is supposed to mean. Iris wanted to stay angry. Wanted to hold on to her rage like a shield. But she could hear the truth in his voice, smell the sincerity in his scent. And more than that, she could feel something shifting in the air between them, something her wolf recognized and responded to. He was trying to join her pack. Truly join it, not as a spy or manipulator, but as a member. Tell me the rest, she said quietly. All of it. So Marcus told her about the blood moon ritual. It was old magic, he explained, from a time before territories and politics, when packs formed through genuine bonds rather than conquest. The ritual required three things: an alpha's blood, a beta's loyalty, and an omega's acceptance. Together, they created a magical compact that bound the pack members to each other, protecting, strengthening, making them more than the sum of their parts. Your mother planned for you to perform the ritual, Marcus said. She left instructions in her journals, ingredients hidden throughout the cottage. She knew that when you transformed, when you accepted your alpha nature, you'd need a way to protect Rowan permanently. The blood moon ritual would create a sanctuary that no outside magic could penetrate. What's the catch? Iris asked, because there was always a catch. The ritual requires the willing sacrifice of alpha blood from the old pack line. Marcus's voice dropped. To create a new pack, you have to end the old one. Officially, irrevocably. That means killing the current leader of your father's bloodline. But my father's dead. That's what I thought too. Marcus pulled a folder from his jacket. How long had he been carrying this? And spread photographs across the table. 3 days ago, I broke into Nathaniel's compound. These are what I found. The photographs showed a cell. Underground, from the looks of it, with stone walls and silver chains. And in the center, chained to a post, was a man. He was gaunt, filthy, covered in scars both old and new. His hair hung long and matted. His eyes were wild, feral, barely human. But the bone structure of his face was achingly familiar. Iris saw it every time Rowan smiled. No, she breathed. James Thornwood is alive. Marcus's voice was gentle but firm. Nathaniel didn't kill him 12 years ago. He captured him, broke him, bound him with dark magic. He's been using your father as a weapon ever since, sending him out to eliminate rival alphas, to terrorize packs that resist Greymoor rule. Your father doesn't even remember who he is anymore. The man you're looking at is barely a person. He's a rabid dog on a chain. Iris couldn't breathe. Her father whom she'd never met, whom she'd spent her whole life believing abandoned her, was alive. Tortured. Enslaved. The ritual requires his death, Marcus said softly. His willing sacrifice. In a moment of lucidity, he has to choose to pass his alpha power to you. It's the only way to break Nathaniel's hold on him, the only way to free his soul. You want me to kill my father? The words tasted like ash. I want you to free him. And in doing so, claim the power that's rightfully yours. Marcus leaned forward. Iris, Rowan is dying. His body is rejecting the transformations. I've seen it before in wolves who transform too young, too often, without proper pack bonds. He has 6 months at most. The blood moon ritual is the only thing that can stabilize him permanently. Iris looked at Rowan. Her brother was staring at the photographs, tears streaming silently down his face. He'd known, she realized. Somehow, he'd known their father was alive. There has to be another way, she said desperately. There isn't. Marcus's hand moved across the table, hovering near hers. I've spent 3 years searching for alternatives. This is it. The blood moon rises in 2 days. If we don't act then, we'll have to wait another year. Rowan doesn't have another year. The weight of it crushed down on her. She was supposed to be a graphic designer. She had an apartment in Seattle, a cat she'd left with her neighbor, student loans and streaming subscriptions, and a perfectly normal life. She wasn't supposed to be planning a rescue mission to kill her enslaved father in order to perform blood magic to save her werewolf brother. I can't, Iris whispered. I don't know how to. Rowan's hand squeezed her leg. When she looked down, he was watching her with an expression far too mature for his face. And then, for the first time since she'd found him, he spoke. You can. His voice was small, hoarse from disuse, but clear. You're alpha. You're strong. You can do anything. Iris felt something crack inside her chest. She pulled Rowan into her arms, holding him tight while he wrapped himself around her like he was afraid she'd disappear. I don't want you to change, Rowan whispered against her shoulder. I don't want you to become someone scary. But I don't want to die either. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Hey, no. Iris pulled back to look at him. You have nothing to be sorry for. None of this is your fault, do you understand? None of it. But if I wasn't here. If you weren't here, I'd still be half asleep, Iris said fiercely. I'd still be drinking wolfsbane every morning and wondering why I always felt like something was missing. You woke me up, Rowan. You made me whole. Don't ever apologize for that. Rowan buried his face in her shoulder again, and Iris met Marcus's eyes over her brother's head. Tell me the plan, she said. The knock came that evening, just as the sun was setting. Iris opened the door to find Victoria Crane standing on her porch, alone and unarmed. The hunter looked different without her tactical gear, smaller, almost vulnerable in jeans and a leather jacket. But her eyes were still cold, still calculating. Came to finish what you started? Iris asked. Came to make you an offer. Victoria held up a small metal case. 10 years of suppressants. Medical grade, properly dosed. Enough to lock away your wolf permanently. You take these, surrender the boy, and this all goes away. You can go back to Seattle, back to your real life. Forget any of this ever happened. Iris stared at the case. It would be so easy. Pop a pill, watch your senses dull, feel the wolf retreat back into the dark where it had lived for 28 years. Return to normal. Return to safe. Why? She asked. Why offer me this? Because you're not like them, Victoria said quietly. You didn't choose this life. You're a victim of circumstances, of genetics, of your parents' choices. The boy, though, he's pure bloodline. Old pack. He'll grow up to be exactly like his father, starting wars and getting people killed. Let me take him. Let this end. So you can execute a child. So I can prevent the deaths of hundreds. Victoria's voice hardened. Your father's treaty nearly worked, did you know that? He almost united the packs. And in doing so, he would have created an army. Werewolves stop being scattered, frightened individuals and start being an organized force. What happens then? How long before they decide humans are prey instead of neighbors? How long before someone like Nathaniel Graymore uses that united force to carve out a kingdom? The silver chain exists to prevent that future, Iris. We're not monsters. We're realists. You're murderers. So are werewolves. We just have better reasons. Victoria shook the case. Last chance. Take the pills. Save yourself. Iris looked back into the cottage, where Rowan sat at the table drawing with Marcus. Her brother. Her pack. Her responsibility. She turned back to Victoria and smiled, showing teeth that were just a little too sharp. I'm already saved, she said, and closed the door. The next day, Marcus taught her to fight. Not the basic stances from before, but real combat. How to use her alpha strength, her speed, her instincts. How to kill efficiently if she had to. They practiced in the clearing behind the cottage while Rowan watched, and with every hour Iris felt herself changing. Not physically. Emotionally. Mentally. She was letting the wolf in. Not fighting it anymore, not afraid of it. She was learning to move like a predator, think like a hunter, accept the violence that came with protecting her pack. It should have terrified her. Should have felt like losing herself. Instead, it felt like coming home. You're a natural, Marcus said, breathing hard after she'd pinned him for the third time. Your father would be proud. I'm not doing this for pride, Iris said, offering him a hand up. I'm doing this because I have to. The best alphas always do. Marcus studied her face. For what it's worth, I meant what I said. I'm staying. Whatever happens tomorrow night, I'm with you. With your pack. If you'll have me. Why? Iris asked. You barely know us. We're not your responsibility. You're my choice. Marcus said it simply. Nathaniel's pack was my blood, but it was never my choice. You are. Rowan is. This is where I want to be. The way he looked at her made heat rise in her cheeks. Made her wolf rumble with approval. Made her want to close the distance between them and Iris. Rowan called. Come look. I drew us. The moment broke. Iris turned away, but not before catching Marcus's small smile. Later, after Rowan was asleep, Iris found her mother's final letter. It was hidden in the last journal, tucked into the back pages. Her mother's handwriting, elegant even in what must have been the final hours of her life. My darling girl. If you're reading this, you found Rowan. You've transformed. You've become what I always knew you could be, an alpha, like your father. Like me, in my own way. Yes, I was alpha too. Not werewolf, but the human equivalent. I led the network that protected scattered wolves for 20 years. I made the hard choices, sacrificed when necessary, fought when I had to. I taught you to be strong, Iris, even though I tried to hide the reasons why. Your father loved you so much. He stayed away to protect you, but he watched from a distance. Every birthday, every graduation, every milestone, he was there, hidden but present. When he was captured, when Nathaniel broke him, James used the last of his will to shield your existence. He never told them about you. Endured years of torture to keep you safe. Now it's your turn to save him. Not just his body, that's beyond saving. But his soul. His legacy. His pack. The ritual will hurt. Becoming alpha always does. But you're strong enough. You always have been. I love you, my fierce, brilliant daughter. I'm sorry I couldn't tell you the truth. But I'm so proud of who you've become. Led them well. Mom. Iris read the letter 3 times before the tears finally came. She cried silently, curled on her mother's bed, mourning the woman who'd sacrificed everything to protect her. Who died getting Rowan to safety, believing Iris would know what to do. When the tears finally stopped, Iris felt hollow but clear. She knew what had to be done. She just hoped she was strong enough to do it. The blood moon rose at midnight. It was massive and red as rust, hanging low on the horizon like a watchful eye. Marcus drove them north in a stolen truck. Nathaniel's compound was 40 miles away, hidden deep in the mountains. Rowan sat between them, quiet but alert, dressed in clothes that could tear away easily if he needed to transform. The guards change at 2, Marcus said, his voice tight. That's when we go in. I know the patrol routes, the blind spots. We should be able to get to the cells without being detected. And if we are detected? Then we fight. Marcus glanced at her. You ready for that? Iris thought about her father, chained and broken. About Rowan, dying slowly without the ritual. About her mother, sacrificing everything to bring them to this moment. Yes, she said. I'm ready. The compound was uglier than she'd imagined. Chain-link fences topped with silver wire. Guard towers with spotlights. Buildings that looked more like a prison than a home. This was what Pack had become under Nathaniel Graymore, something twisted and wrong. They moved through the shadows, Marcus leading, Iris covering their rear. Rowan stayed between them, small and silent. Her wolf senses picked up guards, 6 of them, spread throughout the compound. But Marcus's intelligence was good. They avoided all contact, slipping through blind spots like ghosts. The cells were underground, accessed through a maintenance building. Marcus picked the lock with practiced ease, and they descended into darkness. The smell hit Iris first. Blood and fear and something else, dark magic, thick and oily in the air. Her wolf recoiled from it, but she pushed forward. They passed empty cells, old bloodstains, silver chains bolted to stone walls. And then she saw him. Her father was exactly as the photographs had shown, gaunt, scarred, barely human. He was slumped against the post he was chained to, his breathing shallow. But when Iris approached, his head lifted. For just a moment, his eyes cleared. Golden eyes, Rowan's eyes, her eyes, focused on her face. "Eleanor," he whispered. "No." Iris knelt outside the cell, her heart breaking. "I'm Iris. Your daughter. I've come to," her voice cracked. "I've come to help you." James Thornwood stared at her, and she watched awareness flicker in and out like a guttering candle. "Iris. My girl. You're so beautiful. You look just like," his face contorted, and a growl built in his throat. The chains rattled as he lunged forward, teeth snapping at the air. Then clarity again. "I'm sorry. I can't hold on. Nathaniel's magic, it's too strong." "I don't," confusion. "Who are you?" "It's okay," Iris said through tears. "I'm here now. I'm going to free you." "Can't be freed." James's voice was lucid now, urgent. "The magic won't break while I'm alive. Nathaniel made sure of that. Only one way to end it." "The ritual," Marcus said quietly from behind her. "Yes." James looked at Marcus, and recognition flared. "Greymoor pup. Traitor. Good. Someone needs to betray that bastard eventually." He turned back to Iris. "You're Alpha. I can feel it. Strong. Real. Not broken like me. I don't know how. You do. It's in your blood. In your bones." James reached out as far as his chains allowed, and Iris moved closer until his fingers could brush her face. "My daughter. My beautiful daughter. I watched you grow up. Did you know that? I was there for your first day of school. Your high school graduation. The day you moved to Seattle. I was there. Dad. Do it fast. Please. Before I lose myself again and hurt someone I love." James's eyes found Rowan, who had crept closer. Recognition blazed. "My son. Gods, you look just like your mother. Take care of each other. Be the pack I never got to be." The lucidity was fading. Iris could see it, his eyes glazing over, the growl returning. In seconds, he'd be gone again, lost to Nathaniel's magic and years of torture. "I love you," Iris said quickly. "I never knew you, but I love you. And I forgive you for leaving. I understand now. I understand everything." "Then you understand this is mercy," James said, and his voice was her father's voice, clear and strong one final time. "Take my power. Lead my pack. Be everything I couldn't be. And kill that son of a bitch Greymoor for me." He shifted. The transformation was faster than Iris had ever seen, man to wolf in a heartbeat. But this wolf was massive, battle-scarred, with fur more gray than anything else. An alpha in his prime, before the torture, before the breaking. He looked at Iris one last time, and in those eyes was peace. Permission. Love. Then he bowed his head. The ritual came to Iris like muscle memory, like something her blood had always known. She transformed, feeling the shift come easier this time, faster. Her white fur gleamed in the dim light. Behind her, Marcus and Rowan transformed too. Pack. Supporting her. Anchoring her. Iris approached her father. He didn't move, didn't resist, just waited with his throat exposed. The ultimate gesture of trust from an alpha. She pressed her muzzle against his, just for a moment. A goodbye. A promise. Then she did what had to be done. It was quick. As merciful as death could be. Her jaws closed, her father's blood spilled, and she felt his power pour into her, not stolen, but given freely. Alpha to alpha. Father to daughter. The magic of it was overwhelming. She felt her father's memories flash through her mind, his love for her mother, his joy at Iris's birth, his agony at staying away. His capture, his torture, his slow descent into darkness. And underneath it all, his pride in her. His hope for what she could become. When it was over, when her father's body lay still and finally at peace, Iris threw back her head and howled. It was a sound of grief and power and claiming. The other wolves, Marcus and Rowan, howled with her. Their voices braided together, and Iris felt the bond snap into place. Pack. Real pack. Unbreakable. The magic of the blood moon ritual flooded through her, through them all, sealing them together. She felt Marcus's loyalty, solid as stone. Felt Rowan's love, pure and unconditional. Felt her own alpha nature rise up, vast and fierce and finally free. The cell door exploded. Nathaniel Greymoor stood in the doorway, flanked by 6 wolves. He was in human form, a man in his 50s with silver hair and cold gray eyes. When he saw James's body, his expression twisted with rage. "You killed my weapon," he snarled. "Do you have any idea how many years I spent breaking him? How valuable he was?" Iris transformed back to human, blood on her mouth, power singing in her veins. "He was my father. And you tortured him. That ends now. You think you can challenge me, girl?" Nathaniel laughed. "You're barely transformed. You don't know the first thing about being alpha." "I know enough." Iris called the power her father had given her, felt it respond like a living thing. The air around her shimmered. The stone walls cracked. And every wolf in the room, including Nathaniel's guards, felt the pressure of her alpha command. 2 of them whimpered and backed away. Nathaniel's face paled. "Impossible," he breathed. "My father was the strongest alpha in 3 generations," Iris said quietly. "And he gave me everything. His power. His pack. His legacy. You're done, Greymoor. Your reign ends tonight." She didn't give him time to respond. She shifted and attacked. The fight was brutal but short. Nathaniel was older, experienced, vicious. But Iris had her father's strength and her mother's determination. She had Marcus at her flank and Rowan's fierce, protective love in her heart. She had everything. When it was over, Nathaniel lay bleeding on the stone floor, his throat torn open by an alpha's jaws. His guards had fled or submitted. The compound was silent except for the sound of Iris's ragged breathing. Marcus pressed against her side, his warmth grounding her. Rowan whimpered softly, pressing his small wolf form against her other side. Pack. They made it back to the cottage by dawn. The transformation into the sanctuary was visible even from a distance. The cottage glowed with soft golden light, and the air around it shimmered with protective magic. The blood moon ritual had worked. This was sacred ground now, untouchable by outside forces. Inside, Iris collapsed onto the couch, exhausted but alive. Marcus built a fire while Rowan curled up beside her, his breathing finally easy, his transformation stable. "It's done," Marcus said quietly, handing her tea. "You did it." Iris looked at her hands. They were still stained with her father's blood, Nathaniel's blood. She should feel horrified. Should feel traumatized. Instead, she felt complete. "Victoria will come back," she said. "Probably." Marcus sat beside her. "You've claimed your father's territory now. Inherited all his enemies along with his power. The silver chain, rival packs, wolves who'll want to test the new alpha. It won't be easy. Nothing worth doing ever is." Iris looked at Rowan, at Marcus. "But we're pack now. Really, truly pack. We'll face whatever comes together. Together, Marcus agreed, and the way he said it made warmth bloom in her chest. Over the next few days, they fell into a new routine. Iris taught Rowan to control his transformations properly, how to shift at will, how to hold human form without pain. Marcus reinforced the wards and started making contact with other wolves from the network, building alliances. And Iris learned to be alpha. It wasn't easy. She made mistakes, second-guessed herself, sometimes woke up in the middle of the night wondering if she'd made the right choice. But every time doubt crept in, she'd feel the pack bond, Marcus's steady presence, Rowan's unconditional love, and remember why she'd done this. Not for power. Not for revenge. For family. For pack. For home. 2 weeks after the blood moon, Victoria Crane appeared at the property line. She didn't cross the wards, just stood at the edge and looked at the cottage. Iris walked out to meet her, Marcus a few steps behind. "Heard you killed Greymoor," Victoria said without preamble. "Impressive. Half the supernatural world is talking about the white wolf who took down one of the old alphas. He had it coming. Most of them do." Victoria studied her. "You've inherited a target, Iris Blackwood. By claiming your father's power, you've painted yourself as a threat. The silver chain, other packs, hunters who don't discriminate, they'll all come for you eventually." "Let them come," Iris said. "We'll be ready." Victoria's lips quirked in something that might have been respect. "You sound like an alpha." "I am an alpha." They stared at each other for a long moment. Then Victoria nodded slowly. "The silver chain is pulling back. For now. You've proven you're not like the others, you protect rather than conquer. But Iris? Stay that way. The moment you start acting like the monsters we hunt, I'll come back. And next time, I won't offer mercy." "Neither will I," Iris said quietly. Victoria turned and walked away, disappearing into the forest. Iris stood at the property line for a while, feeling the weight of her new reality. She was alpha now. Leader of a tiny, damaged pack, yes, but pack nonetheless. She had enemies closing in, responsibilities she'd never asked for, a future she couldn't quite see. But when she turned back to the cottage, she saw Marcus on the porch, Rowan beside him. Her pack. Her family. Her home. The moon watched from behind the clouds, not full, not yet, but always present. Always watchful. And Iris Blackwood, alpha of the Thornwood pack, smiled. Let them come. Let the hunters and the rival packs and whatever else the supernatural world wanted to throw at her. She was ready. The real war had just begun. But for the first time in her life, Iris Blackwood was exactly where she was meant to be. The moon watches. The moon always watches. And beneath its light, a new pack was born. Thank you for watching this video. Please subscribe and like this video to continue listening to this type of story daily and also, to appreciate this community too. I would like to know the country in which you are in, listening to this story. Which country is that? Please comment below.